Year 7. Don't know what lesson number we're on now. It's been quite a bit, but this is the start of your new topic in this working from home series. If you haven't finished the last topic, which finished with an 8-mark exam question called, I think the question was, describe 2 consequences of the Norman Conquest, you need to go and do that and submit it before you do this, because me or Mr. Bailey will be marking those questions and giving you feedback. So please ensure that you've done all of the Norman Conquest lessons and the exam question at the end before you move on to this one today. You can find them all the lessons of the Senior Firefighter task, but I archive them a week after their due date, or 2 weeks after their due date. If you missed one for whatever reason, which is fine, you want to catch up, if you go onto the History Firefighter page at the top, you'll see a little working from home page. Then click on year 7, and you'll see all the links to the videos and any quizzes I've set on there stored, and that'll be there till whenever we're back in school, so you can catch up. But if you have done all that and you're feeling pretty confident about the Norman Conquest and you want to move on to a fresh topic, moving on to this today, we're moving on to the Middle Ages, and today's going to be a really chill, quite short lesson just to get us thinking about what the Middle Ages is, what it involved. Most of it's going to be watching a really, really good YouTube video, because it sort of breaks it down perfectly, far better than I could. So you're just going to watch that, make some notes. But we'll go through a few things, do a couple of tasks, and hopefully be done pretty darn quick. So yeah, you don't need to do anything yet, just put your tasks. Obviously, remember, either take photos of your work, attach photos of your work, or save the paper you're writing on. It's got to be one of those 3, so I know you've done the work. If you are worried about the work or you're falling behind, you don't get it, please email me, jbaker@trentonacademy.co.uk. I do check all my firefighter tasks for responses, but it's very difficult to find. I mean, I try and respond to you. It's very, very difficult to find the responses, because it doesn't really make a difference between someone who's clicked it as complete and someone who's made a comment. I have to click on them all individually. I can miss them. So if you do send me a comment, I haven't got back to you within a few days or a week, then send me an email and I'll email you back ASAP. Right, the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages are so called because they're the years between ancient and modern history. So imagine we split history up into 3 sections. You've got ancient. Now that's stuff like Rome. You've got modern. That's stuff like World War II. Then you got this middle bit. And this one sort of ends at about 500 AD. And this one sort of starts at about 1500 AD. And those 1,000 years in the middle are called the Middle Ages. They're in the middle of ancient and modern. So from about 500 to 1500, I didn't mean to draw there, I meant to point. So we're going to look at the Middle Ages in Britain, Europe and China, and look at some key points and really get a feel, because I think this is quite an overlooked part of history. It's often called the Dark Ages, and I think that's quite unfair, but we'll see why people call it that in a minute. So just make a note that the Middle Ages was between, I mean, it depends on who you ask, but between about 500 and about 1500 AD, and it's in the middle of ancient history, which is your Rome and your Greeks and your Egyptians, and your modern history, which is sort of everything after 1500. So that includes the English Civil War, the French Revolution, Napoleon, World War I, World War II, yada, yada, yada. Right, I'm going to start, guys, by asking you to match up. See the words in bold? So you've got Maiden, Ally, Pope, Vikings, Anglo-Saxon, Norman, heir to the throne, martyr, serf, and loyal. You need to match those words up with the definitions. Now, there's more definitions than there are words, so yeah, to catch you out, so you've really got to think about it. If you're struggling, Google it. I will go through the answer in a minute, but you're going to gain nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, by watching me do the answers and copying it down, because when we get back into school and I ask you, you're not going to know. So have a go. If you're struggling, Google it or dictionary it or whatever you want to do, and have a go, and I'll let you do that, then we'll go through the answers in a minute. Alright, so you probably, well, if you can write them down, great. You might want to shorten some of the definitions or not. Make sure you mark these as we go through. So loyal, that's quite obvious. Loyal is faithful to a person. In fact, we'll number them. So if loyal is number 1, ally number 2, Vikings number 3, Norman number 4, Pope number 5, I missed Maiden, sorry. Maiden number 5, Pope number 6, Anglo-Saxon number 7, Norman number 8, and then Surf number 9, and Marta number 10. Right, so loyal is obviously faithful to a person. You can use that word all the time. I was on Love Island last summer, or on Loyal Babes, or whatever that lady said all the time. You might know what I mean, you might not. Right, ally. An ally is a friend or supporter. You probably know that word already. Vikings, if you thought about it. Vicious Vikings, vicious fighters from Norway who raided countries like England, but many settled in England. One of my favourite topics to learn about. The Normans were a person from Normandy, an area in France. So Normandy makes sense. A maiden is a young woman. These are all words in medieval times or Middle Ages. One thing to say, guys, is you'll hear probably 3 words for this topic. You'll either hear Middle Ages, Dark Ages, or medieval. They all sort of mean the same thing, just people use them interchangeably, but they all mean the same thing. Pope is the head of the Catholic Church. He says he lives in Rome, and he lives in Rome, not Roman. Anglo-Saxons are people who are originally from Germany, but in the Middle Ages they ruled England and called themselves English. Heir to the throne, person who's next in line to the king, usually the eldest son, but not always. Serf is a peasant who is tied to the land and cannot leave, and martyr is someone who dies for their religious beliefs. So just check you've got all of those matched up correctly. You do need to know what they are, and you do need to have them written down. There's some stuff you're not going to understand. Right, I'll go back. I'll just give you a second, pause the video, make sure they're copied down correctly. Right, if any of you saw the video which went up on the school's YouTube channel a few days ago, I recommended some educational YouTube channels for you to enjoy or to learn from during lockdown. This, I think, is the best one. It's called Crash Course, and they have, I'm sure many of you are already aware. If you're not, they have series on every topic from American history to philosophy, psychology, economics, physics, biology. They got loads of different history topics as well. And recently, they did a European history, and the first one is by a guy called John Green and his brother Hank. Their first one was a medieval Europe, or basically Middle Ages Europe. So what I want you to do is I want you to go and watch this video for me now. It's 14 minutes long, but it's not really boring. They're really keen to make entertaining and upbeat and engaging. I want you to go and watch this and just enjoy it. Don't stress too much. I want 2 things from you. At the start, he's going to mention 4 key events in the years that they happened. Just pause it there and make a note of it. Not now, I mean pause the video when you go and watch his video on the 4 key events and the years in which they were happened. And then as you're watching, I just want you to pick out any 15 facts from the video. It's full of facts about the Black Death. So by key events, we got the Black Death and the years, and the 100 Years' War and the years those happened. But any facts, they talk about the French inventing or using the cannon for the first time. They talk about how many people died from the Black Death. He talked about religion. It's superb. It's such a great video. So just go and watch it, and I want from you 4 key events and years that happened, and any 15 facts, and just enjoy the video, because I could sit here and sort of say the same thing, but I'm not as good as these guys. I'm not going to be able to produce a video as good as what this is. So go and watch it for me, and then we'll come back and we'll move on to the last task. All right. Hopefully you've gone to watch it. If you haven't, just go and watch it, make some notes, do the tasks. But as I say, then we're basically done, because that takes up 15 minutes of the lesson. Now, if you had the 15 to the 10-ish minutes we're going to be on, we're on about that half an hour, 40 minutes we need to be on. Probably another 10 minutes for that task, so there we go. I just want you, well, I've said the Middle Ages is always called the Dark Ages. And I want you to answer this, well, finish the sentence. I think the Middle Ages were called the Dark Ages because I could see this is a Middle Ages town. And, I mean, we won't go into detail, but there's a man urinating in the street. He's drinking some beer. There's a pig walking around. They're throwing human waste onto the street. There's a pig, there's a cow, there's a dog. They're getting the water from there. There's a fire, there's smoke. It's very crowded. So I just want you to finish this sentence. I think the Middle Ages were called the Dark Ages because, and what we're going to do is we're going to start exploring over the next few lessons whether it deserves to be called the Dark Ages or whether it does not. And we're going to look at some key things in detail, like the Black Death, like some big battles, and hopefully have a bit of a fun time with it. But that's it from me today. As long as you've watched that video and you've done that task and you've answered that, finished that sentence, and we're all good, All I'll say is hope you're all keeping well, and if you do need me because you're struggling with a task, remember it's jabaker@TrentonAcademy.co.uk. And that's it from me. So make sure you've watched the video, make sure you've done the keywords, and make sure you finish that sentence. And we've done today quite a chill lesson, starting a new topic. Please make sure you've gone back and you've done that exam question, which will be on Firefly for you. And also make sure you've completed every other lesson. We are monitoring who's doing it, and you don't want to be that person falling behind and having to catch up or coming back to school and not knowing what's going on because you're going to be at a disadvantage. Anyways, thank you for watching and listening. Take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you when we do the next video. Adios.